Good morning, everyone. Welcome to IT Live, brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors, the day after the national championship. And we are going to discuss that, what Texas can take away from it, what you can't replicate. You can't just take everything that Signetti's done, but there are lessons in here that I think modern college football is displayed by such a win. But before we discuss all of that, I want you over on Inside Texas, the website, 50% off Ultimate Fan Bundle. You'll get our site, On3, and Rivals paired all together. It's an amazing, amazing deal. And then after we talk a little bit of Indiana, we'll talk Texas portal news because I know you guys are already in the comments wanting to chat about that. So we will do that for you. First things first, Indiana wins, Paul. Cool, man.
I mean, I don't like to be hyperbole guy on this, but can you name a greater achievement in college sports?
Even without the win,
I agree.
Yeah, even without winning last night, I was like, I don't know. Kieran pointed out there's some soccer club that did something similar, but I don't know enough about soccer. But he was the only one that I heard that actually had a retort.
Is this like Premier League or?
I think it's one of the soccer guys in the chat. There was some, if you guys know, but that was the only time I've even heard anyone mention a potential.
Right. Well, I don't want to embrace that if it's some junior Bundesliga team.
I think it was better than that, but that was literally the only other thing that I had ever even heard could possibly.
I was honestly thinking about it even across all sports.
Yeah.
And the only thing I could come up with was the Miracle on Ice.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you know anything about that and the huge disparity between the American college team, effectively, and the Soviets, who were the dominant team in all of hockey, and not just international competition. They used to play NHL All-Stars, and the All-Stars would try, and the Soviets would beat them 9-1.
My hockey knowledge is at less than zero.
Well, I just expended mine. That was it. I'm done.
I know. I watched half of the Disney movie one time, so that's probably what I can get.
Well, I'm just saying that thing has not been exaggerated. That's one of the greatest, most incredible, improbable sports achievements in all of sports history. This is right up there with it. I mean, it's guys, the 3 years at Indiana. I mean, Indiana's got the most losses of any FBS team that I'm aware of, or at least P4.
I think this is it, but
Leicester, okay,
won the Premier League, so that was the only. Yeah,
I mean, I don't know, man.
We would have to actually know soccer to be able to compare.
Yeah, so let's exclude goofy foreign sports and let's focus on real sports.
Yeah, only American sports.
Let's only focus on things that Americans care about because that defines us. But yeah, I mean, I just think it's one of the greatest achievements ever. I mean, Indiana it wasn't a bad program. It was the worst. And people will go, well, Bill Snyder turned around K-State. Bill Snyder's turnaround took years. Yeah. And his turnaround, by the way, it's awesome what he did. His turnaround was we won the Big 12 9 years later, right?
Yeah.
They were 3-24 in the 3 years before Signetti got there. They're 18-1 in Big Ten play since the 2 years they've been there. They won the Big Ten title outright. They beat the Ohio State juggernaut that everyone had handed the Big Ten to in the preseason. They get in, they blow out Alabama, they humiliate them. They blow out Oregon, they humiliate them. And then they got tested against a team that, frankly, had very favorable matchups. I mean, Miami matched up really well with Indiana, and they just out-executed them. And that was a tough game. Nothing came easy. The officials called the game in a way that benefited Miami a little bit, right? They
let the corners play.
They let them play.
Yeah.
And however you feel about it, I mean, it's what happened. I don't care, actually.
I think it's the only way to handle that. Their receivers are so dominant in the clinch, essentially. It's guys, this is the only way that they're not just going to catch everything.
Well, and so ultimately you have to adjust and you still have to persevere. And Indiana did. And I mean, the game turned effectively on a blocked punt touchdown.
Yep.
Which is the most Indiana possible way to win the game and the most Miami way to lose a game, right? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of an ugly, well-played game, if that makes sense. And I just think that ultimately it's going to change how people view college football, how you build a roster, how you coach, what you should actually value, proven production rather than potential. And a bunch of teams are going to try to emulate Indiana, and they're going to all fail.
I told you, I watched that interview with Cignetti, and just like talking about him growing up, his dad being a coach, him wanting to be a head coach at 6, taking like a D2 job when that was like unheard of to go down in ranks. Like you're not going to have the life experiences that Cignetti had to recreate that mindset. So you can take broad lessons. Let's see here. Leicester was 5,001. Someone made 75K. Yeah, that was the one that I heard about. And that's the only team I've ever even heard about someone have a counter to it, but I'm not educated enough in the matter. So what you're not going to be able to replicate his coaching. Their execution's incredible, right? It takes special coaches to do that. Your coach is not just going to turn around and be able to coach at that level. What can you take? What can you actually enact as a blue blood from this strategy?
I'm glad you asked. So the broader takeaway is that we have been, and by the way, Texas did this somewhat painfully during this portal season. People realize that sitting high paid potential on your bench is absolutely useless. That might as well be dead money. Indiana said, we are going to bring in not potential or what a guy could be. We're going to take people what they is. We're going to take guys
for kinetic energy.
We're going to take actual energy. We're going to take pulleys and windmills. Like, we're going to say, hey, this guy started for 2.5 years at so-and-so. But here's the thing. Several of their best players were like good, or they were fine at their prior stop. And then at Indiana, they're awesome, right? So there's something there as well that the broader lesson is we've got to get older. You saw Ohio State do that in the portal, right? So Texas fans, just to give you an idea, a lot of people were upset because we were letting sort of a bunch of freshman recruits or redshirt freshmen walk because we're not willing to pay them $500,000 to sit on our bench, right? And so we sensibly said, hey, some of these people got to walk and we got to replace them. And that caused some tumult. Ohio State completely remade their roster.
I mean, yeah, they're leading that got older graph that Joe posted on the board.
Yeah.
They got like 1 point something years older from the portal.
So teams are going to have to embrace that. Now, can they do it specifically in the way that Indiana has done so, with just nailing personnel evaluation after personnel evaluation? I'm skeptical. I mean, the fact is of course, they use transfer quarterbacks, right? They're not going to pay a guy to sit on the bench. And if you're the quarterback at Indiana, so here's a great advantage that Texas does have. Our starting quarterback, unless they are a complete social misfit, shouldn't require NIL. I mean, our slush fund NIL. I'm talking about they can go get real NIL, whether it's Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning. I think our next quarterback, if he's got some kind of personality, he's going to have, a bunch of endorsements, and we're not going to have to pay the guy. Indiana has to go pay guys and get them in the portal. They went and got Curtis Rourke from Ohio in Cignetti's first year, and Curtis Rourke played really well for them. And then they replaced him with Mendoza, who everyone was like, well, everyone knew he was good at Cal. No, they didn't.
Yeah.
No, they didn't. And now, right now, they're going to now have Josh Hoover, who, by the way, the book on him is the same as Mendoza. Turnover prone, inconsistent, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying Josh Hoover's going to win the Heisman, but Indiana's offense and their approach seems to suggest that they're pretty good at taking quarterbacks that everyone else thinks is mid or mid plus and turning them into elite performers. So unless you have that knack specifically or the goods to do that, you could try to emulate Indiana broadly, which you should. Get a little bit older, don't have sort of dead money sitting on your bench. But in the specifics of it, I'm very skeptical that a lot of teams can match this. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And we'll see, Purdue go 11-1 next year. but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, it's also like the good coaching element that I keep coming back to. He's a great coach. Great coaching has always been relevant. Like if coaches could do it, they would do it. Like execution has always been at a premium. Generally, teams that win are better at executing, success rate, whatever you want to call it. So that part's not new, and that's really what puts him over the top. The evaluations are great, all of that, but if he was a bad coach on top of that, then you'd have some pretty like average, productive but average players, and you'd probably get productive average results. It was the over the top part was the coaching and the system, and they don't complicate a lot of stuff. Like on offense, they keep it very simple. Like their biggest weapon is just being able to execute different fade structures. And if
RPOs,
and RPOs, right? But these are not super crazy schemes that they're doing. They're just kind of whatever you're giving them, they're constantly punching you in the face, whatever you allow.
Well, and here's the counterpoint, right? Everyone in the chat's like, just be Indiana, right? Do what Indiana does. Okay. So when we sign the number 29th ranked high school recruiting class,
right?
I want to make sure you're back in the comments saying, great job. Hey, this is exactly what we should be doing.
Right.
No, you won't be doing that. You'll
Yes.
be throwing a little S-fit in the
Yeah.
chat, actually.
Yeah.
You're not going to talk about the incredible value per player we have in our 29th ranked recruiting class out of
Yeah.
high school. So we've got to, as a blue blood type program that can recruit high school, and I'm still convinced you need to get most of your O-line and most of your D-line in high school and then develop them if you can. But if you really want to go the full Indiana route, understand what you're signing up for. And the fact is, we've been trained by the rankings and by the competition for high school recruits and all that. We've been trained that if Texas is ranked the 29th ranked recruiting class, that's, fiscally responsible, everyone's going to have a freaking revolution and go nuts. So we've got to find a way to combine the two things. And I still think, so you and I have talked about this ad nauseum, and not to chalk up the W here, but you and I are like, why are we taking high school running backs? I'd take maybe one every 2 years, right?
Yeah.
We're taking 2 every year. It's completely ass backwards, right? Wide receivers increasingly. Why would you take high school wide receivers, which is, you have the most proliferation of talent at that position in high school, and it has the highest bust rate. And they're the guys who are most likely to be divas, most likely to be a pain in the ass because they're not getting their snaps. I need the ball. Like, I've talked about this many times. Your second team guard is like, I got beat out fair and square. I just need to work harder.
Yeah.
The very last wide receiver on your roster believes in his heart of hearts, if only coach would give him the ball, he would ball out, right? Yeah. And he doesn't care, man, Jeremiah Smith's nothing. I'm better than him. Like, dude, that's just the mentality. So you've got to find a way to say at certain positions, we're going all high school because we've got to develop it and homegrown these guys. And if we have to supplement because we busted some evals, fine. Other positions, go prove yourself in a college football field, and then we'll go get you. Like that. Let's do it. Let's have that approach. The bigger issue, and I think the real interesting one, is quarterback, because repeatedly teams have been showing that the transfer portal quarterback is successful. And Sark is wedded to the idea, like, I'm going to home grow him. I'm going to go get my 5-star and I'm going to create my guy, right? I think 3 years ago, a lot of people were like, Sark's right. Now there's a lot of evidence that maybe going and getting the proven guy in the portal is the way to go. So then the larger question is, you talked about Indiana's offensive structure. They're pretty easy to adapt to, right? That whole structure is not hard to learn. Is our offense difficult to learn for like a 1-year transfer, rent a quarterback? I don't know. I think we kind of overdo.
I think we're so corny with that. It's just, I think it's just an excuse for, like, it sounds cooler to be like, you need 97 years to learn this.
Is it just an excuse for his existing predilections and biases?
Correct.
Yeah.
And so that's what it feels like to me too. I feel like we really overplay that element of the offense. And if it really is that complicated, it's complicated visually because it's the same concepts wrapped up in different like motion sets and stuff like that. So I get that part. Like the pre-snap stuff is probably actually pretty tough to learn, but it's like they're just doing all of that to then run flood.
I mean, Indiana runs Tom Herman's offense.
Yeah.
More or less. I mean, that's just the truth. Now they do it better
and big receivers.
Well, and here's the thing. I wrote a thing specifically on Inside Texas about Indiana's wide receiver room and saying, no, that these guys are actually elite within the college structure because here's what they all have in common. Here's the kind of routes they run. They're all over 200 pounds. They're all physically strong. They don't drop balls. Of course, Elijah Surratt drops an easy pass in the title game. But the point is, teams will try to emulate that Indiana wide receiver core, and they're just going to end up with the Tom Herman receiver room where everybody's big and slow.
Right.
So I would just say the details of Cignetti and the details of Indiana are finer than people think. And if you try to let's just do the Indiana plan, I think you're going to end up with an old team. You're going to end up with an old team that's kind of sorry. Yeah. So you'll end up with a bunch of old guys who know what's happening, but they're not physically able to do anything about it.
Future coach. I mean? I told you that's the future coach model. The safety that understands everything, but he's too slow to actually get there.
That's it. Yeah, like he recognizes it on the whiteboard, but he can't do anything about it. Yeah. So
Sailor Joe says, easy for T-shirt fans to say, just do what Indiana did. There is no perfect formula. Some programs develop, some farm talent, some have perfect balance.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, Sailor Joe. And I think the key is what's balance now, because that's been upended. So the days of just being like, of just fetishizing, we've got to be the number one recruiting high school class, right? I think if we have the correct balance, Texas fans will accept a number 12 ranked high school class with a bunch of good portal guys that are supplementing. And then looking at things in a very cut and dried way of you got to understand the evaluators that do this for the sites. They're just going to be attracted to wide receivers because they're the easiest position to evaluate. And those guys put up stats and they're catching the ball on film, right? And so you're going to end up with an inordinate number of 4 and 5 stars at that position that if you built your roster off those guys, you're going to have a great high school recruiting ranking. Hey, here's a dirty secret. If you want to juice your high school ranking recruiting class, just go sign a bunch of receivers. Now, most of those guys won't be contributors because they have a huge bust rate.
It's a flaw in the camp circuit.
Yes.
So these guys are much more visually available. You're going to have 7-on-7s with them. You have 1-on-1s. Like you go to the camps and there are offensive linemen, but it's just a little pack. And normally the media is not really hanging out with the offensive linemen. They're hanging out with like edges and wide receivers. So there's just also the camp thing too on what they focus on. There's certain players that they notice more. There's not like great popular offensive line camps that everyone goes to in the same way that there's 7-on-7 and all of that.
Well, I remember a long time ago, I went to a Nike camp in Oregon. I went to the opening or whatever they called it?
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of people there and a bunch of people write for the different sites. And if those that don't know that the position groups are broken up and they do drills. And back then they used to do full pads and like get after it. And they would also do like a 7-on-7 structure, which was like traditional 7-on-7. But the linemen were like in pads on a certain day and like getting after it. And there was a high profile Texas recruit. I'll remain nameless, but he was really highly ranked in the state of Texas. And he was very concerned about his rankings. Anytime any lineman is concerned about their rankings, that guy's going to bust most of the time. But this guy, you could tell he had no future at the highest level of college football. This was a pure like camp guy. He goes to every camp. He interacts with all the guys who do rankings, and he's built up this reservoir of goodwill. So they put him, this is the number 5 center in the country or whatever, right? And you watched him in the camp, and you're like, and the guys were like, oh yeah, he's really good. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I remember grabbing a guy who was an NFL player. He played it for Miami. I was like, what do you think about this guy? And he was like, he has no future. And I was like, yeah, exactly.
The camps are illuminating if you pay attention to the non-obvious details. I won't name the player again, but he played at Texas and he ended up transferring out. I was at a camp and they were doing drills, and I was watching his drill, and it was a very simple drill that they had to execute. Very simple. And the coach that was running it explained it really well. There were probably 10 other players of the same position that immediately understood the drill. This dude could not understand this very simple drill, and he was getting it wrong. And this was an incredible athlete. This was a high 4-star, 5-star guy. He looked great. But I came away from that drill. I was like, we don't need to recruit this guy.
He couldn't understand it, or he wasn't coordinated enough to execute it.
No, he was coordinated enough to execute it. He did not understand it. He kept going to the wrong area. He kept getting it. He didn't know the sequence of events.
Wow.
And it would be different if it was a complex drill and everybody was having trouble with it. Nobody was having trouble with it. And I remember coming away from that. I was like, we cannot bring that guy in. We bring that guy in, he's here for a year, and portal's out.
Yeah, what's funny is football IQ and like walking around the world IQ are not the same.
Yeah, there's plenty of guys that aren't book smart, but they're football smart.
Like Ed Reed is a literal football genius.
Right.
I don't know what his SAT score is. I actually don't know. He might be very smart.
Yeah.
But I can tell you on a football field, that dude is a 180 IQ.
Yep.
I don't know that he dropped a 1500 on his SAT, right? But and there's the other version, which is really smart academic guys who aren't kinesthetic learners.
Yep.
Like the bodies and how quickly things happen, it just freezes them. It paralyzes them. So that's something you have to evaluate too. And look, to get back to the point, Cignetti just is good at this.
I would love to be in their scouting room and see what they're actually keying in. Because like you said, people take the long lesson and be like, your receivers have to be 200 pounds. That's the lesson they'll take from it.
Right.
And totally miss what the guy's skill sets were on top of their 200 pounds.
Yeah, I just – there's something about Cignetti that he gets it, and it's Saban-esque, and that everyone kind of knows Nick Saban could coach almost any position level on the field at a very high level. Same as Bill Belichick, right? I know Bill's lost the old fastball a little bit with the help of his temptress, but there's a lot of value in that as a head coach to actually know what's good looks like, and you can't be BS'd by your position coach.
It will be fun to watch the arguments of like, you can't compare Cignetti and Saban in their run because Saban has 20 years of excellence. But just if like you took the slice out, the argument will start. Well, Saban had 5 stars. So I'm really excited for that new world where they'll argue Cignetti better than Saban.
Well, here's an interesting point, and I think this goes in keeping with another observation I've noticed people making and downplaying Cignetti and what Indiana's done. If Cignetti goes 8-4 the next 2 years, is he still the greatest? Yeah. So if he had just taken over Indiana and gone 6-6 in his first year and 8-4 this year, that's a terrific, amazing turnaround.
Yeah.
I don't think people understand how bad Indiana football was. Like, this is the laughing stock of the Big Ten.
I think he for sure gets greatest single season, of all the coaching job. I think they're talking about, is he the greatest, like in comparison to like Saban's 20?
Well, but I mean, you can't even compare the eras. I mean,
Saban, I've said this to my friends at Alabama and they agreed with me. I was like, Saban wouldn't have done what Saban had done in this particular era, not at the frequency in which he did it.
No, you can't, because NIL and the portal, not to quote my own portal rules, but on any individual player, not only can we lose a bidding battle with Auburn or Alabama or Notre Dame, we can lose a bidding battle with Houston.
Mm-hmm.
Forget Texas Tech and all the billionaire stuff. I mean, that's obvious. On any individual player, we can lose a bidding war with Tulane or Memphis. Like, people are like, oh, boy, I thought we were rich. I thought we're Texas. On any individual player, if the other team is sufficiently motivated, they can just outbid us.
They have enough to keep any one star. They have enough to keep any star player like that. Yeah. That's the whole point of rev share. Now, can they defend their whole roster?
No,
they can keep their star.
Well, and here's the other thing: you're bidding and you're battling dumb competitors. So a Houston or a Tulane should not expend a bunch of their budget on one player. That's dumb. And Well, but Willie Fritz is actually a real coach. Like he's going to do a good job at U of H. He's already has. But the point is, just because they're doing something dumb doesn't mean it still won't affect us.
Right.
So Texas Tech can pay up for David Bailey, and we're like, that's like kind of ludicrous what they paid. So what? We still didn't get David Bailey. That's the net effect.
It's when the dude parks over the line in the parking lot. Now everyone has to park wrong.
Yes.
Yes. So it's like, you're not supposed to do that. It's like, great. Well, we still all have to park wrong now because this guy's doing that.
Yeah. I mean, so someone in the chat was saying Miami, and this is, again, a huge advantage for the University of Texas because we have a native NIL for the quarterback position. That's huge. Miami, I mean, Ty Simpson, I love that guy. He wouldn't like name names and name numbers, and he was offered $6.5 million by Miami to be their quarterback. Miami still doesn't have a quarterback. I guess they're going to get Mensa probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, that tells you what's going on in this market. That's enough money that you can rethink the draft, right? If you're a like late first round, early second round type quarterback, man, college kind of makes sense. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So, it is a brand new world, and the people that can negotiate this are going to be the people that can have some fiscal discipline. They understand the positions that they do have to pay up for, because there's no reward for coming in second on Cam Coleman.
Right.
It's
actually an opportunity cost from whoever you didn't go after.
He's either on your roster or he ain't. Now, the cost of Cam Coleman also means some things.
Yeah.
We passed on Danny Scudero, Connor.
Disgusting.
It's disgusting.
Yeah. The real value.
That's right.
Headed to Indiana. Before we keep going, though, guys, let's hear a quick word from Academy.
Fast one.
Same-day delivery powered by DoorDash.
Fast commercial, fast delivery. Caught you
I'm
there,
impressed.
Paul. Yeah, people aren't even ready for how quick it can be. I just want to be wary because remember last. Okay, so 2 years ago it was Michigan. So now you got to run the ball and play defense. That smash mouth football is what you have to do to win. Ohio State wins. What you have to do is retain your third and fourth rounders. That's what you have to do to win. Indiana wins. Now you need 23-year-old average players with solid production and coach the hell out. It's like we do this every year. Like, let's get a little bit of distance from it and take the lessons that you can implement, but you cannot recreate a lot of the coaching aspect.
Well, you made a very good point about pure coaching, and not just in preparation for the game, but also in-game coaching, scouting, etc. Let's talk about what was key in this football game. As the game evolved and Miami kind of got their stuff together in the second half, you realize, well, Miami matches up pretty well on these guys, particularly the way the game's being called. Indiana, what were the crucial points of this game? Blocked punt touchdown. The final score was 27-21, by the way.
Right.
Blocked touchdown. Penalties from Miami on key downs that continued Indiana drives. And then Cignetti taking his clackers out on a fourth down when everyone's saying kick the field goal, and they run a quarterback draw with Mendoza, and he runs for the touchdown.
No.
Those are coaching. Those are coaching issues. Some of them, like your overall program coaching and how you approach the game. Some of them, in-game specific decisions. We are going to win the game right here. And Indiana did that. And ultimately, that's why they won the game. Look at the box score, or we'll just watch the flow of the game in the second half. These were evenly matched teams. But
yeah,
Indiana,
and I was saying in the group chat, I was like, look, what Miami has to do is spam Tony, because they still have the athlete advantage. I was like, if you want to win, you have to force the athlete advantage, because you don't have the coaching advantage. You don't have the execution advantage. You have Tony is fast as hell. Let's see if he can get in the space advantage, because you weren't going to beat them on the coaching aspects.
Well, other than D'Angelo Pons, who's 5'9" and 170 pounds, right?
Balling, dude.
There was no one in space that could keep with Tony.
Right.
I mean, you watch Tony gliding around, and Indiana guys in the secondary are breaking down on him, and they look paralyzed. And I mean, so what? Tony, I think in the first half had 11 yards receiving.
Yeah.
In the second half, he had like 111.
Yeah.
I mean,
making sick plays. Well, and here's the thing, like, if you're just like Paul likes first principles, Indiana's incredibly well coached. They're going to be in the right place. There is a physical reality.
Yes.
I don't care how well coached you are against Tony. You don't have the ligaments and the power generation.
Yes.
I don't care how well coached you are. And so it's like that's the thing where I was like, the only chance is that you had to go down to physical realities of who is a superior athlete at that point, because you weren't going to win otherwise.
Well, this game was a game of adjustments, because let's look at the other physical reality. On true pass sets, I'm not talking about RPOs, I'm not talking about screens. On true pass sets, Indiana's offensive line could not block Miami.
Yep.
They could not block them. Mendoza has not been hit like that in a long time. He has not been pressured like that in a long time. Because when it's a true passing down and distance, and what did you notice Indiana did? A few things. So one, they realized we can't do true pass sets. We can't protect our quarterback. So they put in more RPOs. Well, Miami starts grabbing receivers and mauling them. And so now your RPO efficacy goes down. So what does Indiana start doing on third and medium? They hand the ball off. So Miami is sprinting up the field right through those Indiana offensive linemen who just aren't physically talented enough. Doesn't matter how cohesive they are. None of that matters. Ruben Bain is abusing the dude across from him. Okay. They run the ball inside of him. How many times did Indiana convert a third and medium or a third and long, handing the ball off? On one of them, like a 3rd and 7, they got 21 yards, right? So it's just the in-game adjustments of Indiana. You just can't overlook how well they coached in-game. And both of their guys on both sides of the ball, both of their coordinators, have been with Cignetti since Division II days. Like, this staff knows each other backwards and forwards, and they're good coaches, man. And they're not scared. In the big games, they just, when the adjustment screams, this is what we need to do, they just do it. And there's no like, oh, this doesn't look right or this doesn't look bad. How badly would have Cignetti have been second guessed if that 4th down had gotten stuffed? Oh,
that's yeah, it would have been brutal.
I mean, but you know what? It was the right call, irrespective of the result.
Yeah.
He's like, we are going to win the game right here. And we're going to have the correct call, and Miami's not going to have the correct call. And that's exactly what happened. In fact, in the postgame, the Miami DC said the minute they went to 4 wide, we started trying to communicate, like draw. And we couldn't do it. We didn't have time to get it in. And our guys were caught flat-footed. So pretty interesting.
UT, is this IU pod?
Well, there's a national championship game played last night. I'm not sure.
Also, extrapolate, brother. We're extolling virtues that win national championships. Some of them conflict with Texas. Some of them are strengths of Texas. Extrapolate a little bit here about what we might be saying behind the lines of that. Is that once you get to the top levels, you got to win the moments, and the good teams win the moments, and that's how you get over the top, because the talent's going to equal out even more as the NIL world goes. It's becoming more about coaching. It's becoming more pure in that regard, which is nice. Maybe not always for us, but it's nice in general for the sport. I really enjoy that aspect. You want to talk portal, Paul?
I do.
Let's discuss it. I mean, I think we've discussed it very little over these past couple weeks.
One thing we've
I'll chime in, but everybody's heard my thoughts on the portal for 3 weeks straight. So I want to hear what you think, man.
So I did write a post about this, why Texas did succeed in the portal. And it doesn't mean that we reached ultimate success at every position.
They did not like that phrasing, Paul.
I mean, I don't care. But I think it revealed the good and the bad about our organization right now. So one, we were clearly motivated to do something in the portal. That's step one, and that's the most important step, because we weren't motivated last year at some key spots, and that caught up with us in a big way. So we were motivated. We'd obviously done some prep work at top line levels with some guys, and you saw that in our class. Cam Coleman, Smothers, Raleek Brown, Biles, etc. Right? These are game-changing potential players. Awesome. And we were realistic about certain positions. We didn't fool ourselves into thinking running back is strong and we return our crafty veteran. Like, they just looked at the room realistically and said, we have to completely remake this thing. Let's blow it up and start over. You and I thought we should have done that a year ago. Hey, we're there now. So that's good.
Yeah.
What it also revealed are some of our organizational weaknesses, which is we don't have a true scouting mechanism that's proactive at the University of Texas. It's reactive. So it's, hey, we need guys at this spot. Get on Instagram and start talking to your coaching contacts and find out who's out there. That's very different from, we've got 3 nerds sitting in a windowless room grinding film who present, here are your 8 best guard options that are going into the portal.
Or not going into the portal, but
We're not going into the portal.
Here's 20 guards, and it'd be interesting if some of these came into the portal.
Yeah, obviously we would never tamper, but
right.
I'm just saying this is the guy you might want to talk to because he's playing at Maryland, and probably he would like to win a football game before he graduates and also get paid. So I think that revealed, you could see the drop off from the top name to the next in some positions, and we're not done. We're not done. I can't get into that, but I think there's some really good stuff we did in the portal. I don't want to ignore that, but also it revealed some holes in our process, and we have got to professionalize our personnel group, and we've got to expand it and make it more proactive. It can't be based on a dude went on Instagram and said, I'm in the portal. Let's react. It needs to be, here's our top ranked sophomores in the ACC that we want to talk to or reach out to their agents. And we don't have that system. And that is a glaring weakness. I have to think people are now aware of that. And we've got to make some changes to do that. Doesn't mean you have to go to the OU system where your GM is in charge of the program and has a different reporting line. Whatever happens or whatever we do, it's going to be under the auspices of Sark, right? He's going to be in charge on the org chart. But what OU is doing is directionally correct.
Yeah, for sure.
It doesn't mean that we have to implement their crazy system of weird reporting lines outside of the athletic department to to random donors. But it does mean OU does have a native scouting department and a bunch of guys going out and trying to find bargains and values. So if you don't want to pay retail, you have to have a mechanism to pay wholesale. And right now we don't have that mechanism.
Well, going back to Cignetti, he was really good at scouting the middle class of talent.
Yeah.
Right. Like productive years of experience, not stars that you're going to pay $1 billion for, and then not underperforming players, right in that middle class. Some of the issues I've had with Texas is Texas they target the right top tier guys. The guys they want to bring in are shoo-in NFL guys, right? It's the second step after not getting them. And I think the running back room was actually a good example of them doing this correctly, right? Because the target is Brown at Louisville and Baugh, which are the 2 kind of top guys, potentially top guys that never even came in the portal. But those are the top guys. Then they fall back to who actually was in the portal, Brown and Smothers. I thought that was a good getting to that second tier, but still getting a ton of value. Other positions I won't name, it's there's this top target, and then maybe don't land that top target, and then it's not acceptable target to me. There had to be more steps in the ladder at some of these positions.
How do you develop those steps is my point.
Right. But that's what it is. I mean, you can literally as a dumbass, you can go on PFF. If you just have access to all 22 and PFF, you can do the early steps of this by going simply just sorting by group of 5, pulling a certain position, pulling the metrics that you like and going, wow, there's 20 players here. Okay, well, do they meet the requisite size? You look through, some of them will fall out. They don't meet the size. Then you go, I can get you a list of 15 targets right now that are at X school that you could pull. And that's my thing is it just feels like there's a huge gap. When you start going into contingencies should go down the rungs. It shouldn't go from NFL player to, I don't know about that.
So
that quickly.
I'm suggesting we don't have that intermediary. And we don't have look, people want to be involved in this and be future GMs and masters of the world because college football GM is now a thing. And
it's a new industry where you can really make your name. And
so I would go get a bunch of hungry 24 and 25-year-olds who have maybe even a coaching background. They've already coached a couple of years of high school ball and they're hungry, and you train them up and you say, this is what good looks like. And then you actually have a personnel guy or a senior scout in your department that they submit their evaluations to.
Right.
And the guy goes, no, this isn't what we're trying to evaluate, man. I don't care about his highlights. Show me his average tape. Show me what he does consistently down to down. I want to also know about his athletic background. How did this guy slip through the cracks? Why is he playing at UC Davis if he's so good?
Right.
Oh, he didn't play high school football till he was a senior?
Great.
Oh, he was an all-state basketball player that they convinced to come out, and he's only played 1 year of high school football. Oh, he long jumped, and he long jumped 23 feet his senior year, and he'd never run track. Oh, now you're starting to form a picture, right? Oh, the guy was 5'9" as a high school senior, and now he's 6'1".
Or he played 1A out in Podunk nowhere, and he never went to a camp because he's from a poor background, right?
Yeah.
Those are the guys, those are the gyms too, because you got to look for the guys that didn't play the game. Most of these guys play the game. But or the flip side. Why? And I saw this with one player earlier, and Texas didn't go after him, which I thought was good. Lower level player, NFL size and movement ability that could project to the NFL. I'm like, why the hell? This guy has no recruiting background, troubled past, right? And so there's that eval too that you can make of like, why wasn't this? Because sometimes there's a reason why the big schools didn't take, but
he robbed a gas station.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And so it's like you have to pay attention to that, but it's also you need to clinic with your position coaches. I'm just going to name a position room, safety. You get your little 24-year-olds, they make $4 a week and they're happy to be there and they grind the film. They're smart. You give them some base level entry exam that they understand actual football. And then you clinic them like, hey, Gideon, I need you for an hour at some point in the offseason to break down the scheme you're using, but more what the players physically have to do. Teach them that position because no one's going to be able to evaluate effectively in the details every position, right? Like you might be able to scout corner. It doesn't mean you can scout guard. So you're going to need these guys kind of separately trained, even and siloed, and then clinic them with your coach to teach them everything that they want. That's how, and then you bring it to them, opposed to just saying the guy is tall, big, and fast.
Agreed. So to reset, Texas did some really good stuff in the portal.
Yep.
What it also revealed are some of the areas where we're not up to snuff. And that can be addressed right now and prepare us for the next portal. But that also, because we're critical, and this is Texas fan in general, right? We can have a really good portal class and still look at, hey, why didn't we come up aces in every position? And the reason is what Homer and I have been discussing. So, by the way, Texas, not alone in that regard. So
yeah,
there's professional personnel departments in college football now. And then there's the Signettis who are just like maestros at this. But in differing levels, most college football personnel groups are not professionalized in this way. And so we've got to get onto this pretty quickly. We won't be the innovator. We won't be the leader, but you could be a fast follower. And that's what we're trying to be in this regard, is be a fast follower.
Paul, who's a true professional?
That true professional in the mortgage world is Mr. Gabe Winslow. You can reach him at 832-557-1095. Why, Gabe? Well, interest rates are at a 3-year low right now. I'm not sure if you guys are aware of that. This is a great time to buy a house or refi a house. I know a lot of you are saddled with some higher interest rates. Let's go refi. And guess what? There's a good chance, based on the spread, that Gabe can actually refi you for free, absolutely free. And there's no gimmicks or nonsense associated with that. He's just really good at his art. He's really good at the art and science of mortgage doing. And that's because he's got a great background. UT grad, former National Merit Scholar. He's got a law degree. This guy is way overqualified to be a mortgage monkey, but he's awesome at it. He's evolved from lower primates to the higher primates.
He's standing up.
That's right. Give him a call and find out why he's a stand-up guy to have in your corner. 832-557-1095.
Couple quick thought, Paul. I can't remember if Joe mentioned this or you, but have a spy inside IU and go after the guys they target. Was it you that brought up Gary Patterson's DBs?
Yes.
Yeah, and then what is Utah looking for at offensive line and linebacker?
That used to be our shorthand. If like we're out of ideas, hey, who is Gary Patterson in Utah offered? That guy? All right, let's go get him.
Yeah, is Indiana going to become like, hey, Indiana offered in the portal? You talked about, I think it was you that talked about that there might be now this new Indiana mystique that could come.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that players who are in the portal are now floating, whether real or imagined, Indiana's after me. And it's a way of giving themselves credence to other schools.
Right.
Other schools saying, well, if Indiana's after this guy, there must be something to him.
Hey, I'm hidden value.
Yeah. And I'm telling you, sometimes that's manufactured by the agent, and it may or not have applied to some former UT players. So it's useful for agents to get out in the grapevine to credulous reporters that, oh, Indiana's hot and heavy after us. And it turns out Indiana like had a courtesy phone call to like figure out what the deal is with this guy. And they still haven't even followed up.
Yeah.
But they're like, Indiana's after us hard. And everyone's like, whoa, Indiana likes him. Indiana likes him. So that's going to be the new thing. That's going to be the new Gary Patterson likes a converted quarterback to play linebacker. Right.
Yeah. Well, Patterson likes that 2-star safety. So, all right. I think this is a good backdrop. I like the frontline guys, but if we take an injury, you think the staff can handle it? They seem to need everything perfect. We can talk about that part, but I also just want to talk about, is this the death of depth?
Yes, it is. And by the way, Indiana, part of the reason, because people are like, well, Cignetti is so new school. They don't practice. They don't hit hard. They're trying to keep their guys fresh. There's a reason he does that. If Curt Cignetti had a 4-deep, like at Alabama, they'd be hitting every Tuesday. It'd be violent because he does know that it gets your team better, but they don't have any depth. So Indiana wrapped their guys in tissue paper all season and they focused on execution. And that's the other part is when we watch this NFL draft, let's not poor mouth Indiana to the extent that like their players suck and they just won the national title. They're going to have a bunch of guys drafted. But notice what positions they're drafted at and notice what round. They're not going to have 5 first-rounders, right? They're going to have 1. And the other part of that is they execute at the level of a service academy.
Right.
And some of that's because they have older players, but it's not the only reason. There's other old teams in college football, right? And they're penalty ridden. So that's another part of the secret sauce that people have to deconstruct. But just understand that if Indiana had a couple more frontline injuries, they don't win the national title.
And I think that's going to be kind of across the board now. They've done a lot of research in the NFL that just the value of luck, and they've quantified it in a lot of ways, the value of luck to winning it all and how much of a part of that is played simply due to injury. The amount of injuries go down significantly on people that win in the NFL. It's not the same exact game, but it's the same in that regard. But there's a lot of luck that comes into this too. So I think teams that'll make deep runs will have talent or great coaching, but also they'll generally not be super hurt too. So, and you can't really call that if that's going to happen or not.
No, and ultimately you have to just be there. You have to just hang around and you'll break through. I mean, that's just really, if you do all the processes right, things break in your favor at some point. That just is.
Michigan and Ohio
Indiana. Yeah, but if Indiana has some injuries next year, they're going to go 8-4. They're going to go 7-5, and it's not going to because Cignetti's now a bad coach or he's distracted. Just how the cookie crumbled.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this actual question, so I can answer it? Do you think the staff can handle injuries? It depends.
Depends on the position.
Is it Arch Manning?
Yeah,
And so yeah, it just depends.
Well, what's the old anecdote about the Colts? Where a reporter says, hey, what are you looking at for backup quarterback with Peyton Manning and blah, blah, blah. And the guy goes, look, let me just cut off your question. What you're suggesting is we're effed and we don't practice, we're effed.
Yeah.
So if Peyton Manning goes down, we're effed.
Yeah.
And the reporter's like, oh, you're supposed to say coach speak and say, we trust blah, blah, blah behind him. It's like, no, our whole system is built around Peyton Manning, his checks, all the things he does at the line of scrimmage. If he goes down, our season's done. Next question. So at certain positions, I think we're in a lot of trouble if a frontline guy goes down. At other positions, if Raleek Brown, misses a couple of games, I don't think that's the end of the world.
Right. Yeah, it's all about who gets hurt. What do you think with Sark's style? I've talked about this with Ian. But to me, like Sark can learn lessons from Cincinnati, but not really. To me, the lesson with Sark is overwhelming force. Like that's what I think Sark has to lean into is just incredible athletes everywhere, scheming the hell out of them. Of course, I'd like the penalties to get cleaned up. Of course, I'd like to be able to run more consistently. But we're in year 6, and maybe that turnaround happens. To me, it's not likely. I don't think Sark needs to try to become something he's not. I think he needs to lean actually more into Sarkosity. What do you think?
Look, when we line up on offense next year, Cam Coleman's going to be standing outside the numbers. And then in the backfield or on the other side of him or running a swing pass is going to be Ryan Wingo. And whatever you guys think of Ryan Wingo, and I know he's had some drops and different issues, if you hit him in the hands headed upfield with space, it's not a good day for the defensive backs across from him. And then you've got a guy like Emmett Mosley, who's Mr. Settle into the seam, turn around and catch the 13-yard ball, right? And then we're going to have competent tight end play. And then we're going to have really explosive backs who may not grind. They may not be the Indiana running backs who just always are falling forward and just sort of like violently trying to get through the hole. But if you give them a hole, they can go 60.
They'll Fletcher it.
That is terrifying to an opposing defensive coordinator. Yep. There isn't really a right defense to call against that. So now what we have to do with that personnel group is actually execute. Like, let's go out and execute. Let's not start the series with the freaking holding penalty on first down. Let's not start the series with a drop. Let's not start the series with one guy on the offensive line not being up to par and he gets blown up and now it's 2nd and 13. If we can avoid that self-friction, this offense is going to be really scary potentially.
It's really impressive what Sark's offense has been able to do with the amount of foot shots that this offense also takes. If you could just get that back to average shooting yourself in the foot, you would see it unlock anymore. It was like the running back thing. It's like, look, we got great running backs, and that's awesome. But really, we just needed to get to average. Same with offensive line. If you get elite NFL guys, great. But really, we just needed to get to average, and you would see it a lot better.
Yes. No question about that. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think we've got something more than average at running back now. Right. I think we went from a bottom quartile SEC running back room to a top quartile SEC running back room. I think that's going to make a difference. I think our wide receiver room, real good. I'm not sure we're Ohio State, but we're in the top 5 nationally. Would you
respect it?
I mean, I think so. And then you just go through at O-line, you just don't want to have one or two guys that are the weak point. And Indiana, as well coached as they were, and as well as they played all year, they were up for the Joe Moore Award, right? Their offensive line. When they encountered Mesidor and Bain, you realize that talent still plays a role, and you could be as well coached as you want. Ruben Bain's going to kick your ass. And Indiana realized that real quick. Like, we can't just drop back and have Fernando Mendoza go through progressions because he's going to get sacked. Also, Miami had some early, late hits that didn't get called that I think helped set the tone as well. So,
yeah, popping Mendoza and getting away with that, I thought was good for a defensive mindset. But they also, they tried to shove a receiver who was clearly out of bounds late. Like, Miami was still trying to make these dumb errors. They didn't call them. But, that's going to be the big thing. But to me, it's like, I know what we like and the perfect ideal of coaching, which is today it's Cignetti, and we'll see what it is next year. But I think Sark just needs to lean into more Sark. Cleaning up penalties, no question. I'm not saying continue penalties. Those are great. But I think really it's just he doesn't need to change his style. He might even need to lean more into it at times, opposed to getting kind of schizophrenic or trying to be what he hasn't shown his play style to be. You good with that?
Word.
All right, let me look through the comments here, make sure I didn't miss anything from you beautiful guys. We need better development on O-line. Disagree, dude. I think
we need to be worse.
Yeah, we need to be worse on O-line. We need stuff to talk about on the shows, guys. All right. How much of the run game was on Chad Scott or the players?
There is no position that is less coached than running back.
Yeah.
So if you want to know how your running backs are going to perform, look at the running backs.
Yeah.
I mean, the coaching is like on blitz pickup, inside out, and also have multiple contact points on the ball. Don't fumble. That's running back coaching. Congratulations.
Here's the run scheme. You're going to look at this first. If it's not there, you're going to look at that. If it's not there.
Did Bucky Godbolt create Ricky Williams?
Right.
Right. I mean, like that's just a God-given position. And
you know the most predictive rankings position to actual NFL playing time? It's running back.
Yeah.
So it's like running back, they're the actual, they're not the most plentiful like a wide receiver, but as far as projection, they're actually the easiest position to project.
Well, I'll tell you where your running back coach is important in two areas. One, his ability to identify running backs in the recruiting process. And two, in the recruiting process, his ability to recruit other positions.
Right.
Running back coaches have the least on their plate of any position coach on your staff.
That's why you should immediately put a ton more on their plate, like recruiting and that kind of stuff. Because
your running back coach should be instrumental because of his interpersonal skills and helping you land the defensive end from his hometown, right? Or his recruiting region. Your running back coach needs to recruit running backs and like be able to identify them. And if he keeps identifying high school, because he's like, I'm good at this, I'm going to identify high school running backs that are going to level up, and he keeps whiffing that evaluation, he's bad at his job by definition. And I don't care how charismatic he is or if he gives good interviews or he has cool neck tats or whatever. Like, that guy sucks.
Yeah, I agree. We've seen that with the latest. I think we're out of all running backs from one selection group. So yeah, to me, the problem was the running backs and the interior offensive line. Don't get me wrong, but it's generally on the actual athlete of the running back opposed to the coach. All right, any final thoughts, Paul? I won't see you again till next week. I'll see you on Deep Dive, but I'll be behind the camera. So, any final thoughts here, man?
I would say the portal has closed for most teams except the two that played last night.
Correct.
And I would say that Texas is not done in the portal. So try to keep those two things in mind that seem seemingly opposed.
Hopefully you guys can understand that hint. All right, everyone. Head over to Inside Texas, 50% off transfer portal, ultimate fan bundle. Inside Texas On 3 and Rivals all together. Very, very beautiful stuff. Everyone, this was brought to you by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Have a wonderful day. Later, y'all.